Hey everybody, Mike Slifer here in the First Alert Forecast Center, and we are coming at you with another First Alert Weather Extra. We're going to dive into some of the weather headlines here over the course of the next week, but we actually want to kick things off with a look at the Atlantic hurricane season and what's going on right now in the tropics, and the answer is a whole lot of nothing. Now, interestingly, last week we were talking about that tropical wave off of Africa, which had a pretty high chance of actually becoming a named system. But it never ended up becoming named. And the reason for that was because it encountered dry air over the Atlantic and fizzled out. And it was interesting because late Friday, early Saturday, we started seeing some hints in model data that perhaps it wouldn't quite intensify enough to become named. And that's exactly what happened, is it did not intensify and eventually fell apart entirely. But perhaps what's more notable about the fact that we have nothing going on in the tropics is that we are approaching what is, at least climatologically speaking, the peak of the Atlantic hurricane season. Activity tends to peak on September 10th. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean it's always the most active on September 10th, but generally, we are at least looking at something that maybe could form or has formed when we get to the first couple weeks of September. There is nothing for us to track right now in the tropics. The Atlantic hurricane season does go through the end of November, so there's still plenty of time for things to change. But as it stands right now, nothing all that notable out there. Locally, we're talking about more cool mornings here in Connecticut. Some isolated showers possible on Wednesday. One chance to hit 80 degrees. That'll be on Thursday, followed up by a pretty great weekend for outdoor plans and activities. And there are plenty of things to get into. We have a whole list of fairs over on our website, WFSB.com. You can go check those out and see what maybe is something you'd be interested in checking out this weekend. We'll begin with First Alert Live Radar, which is scanning clear and dry across the state right now. Nothing to track here within the borders of Connecticut, and this is the only live radar in Connecticut. You can see the beam originating from within the state's borders. Pretty quiet day, especially compared to what we saw over the last couple of days. Certainly very active across Connecticut on Saturday with severe weather, and yesterday with that steady soaking rain that we dealt with. Now, over the last 6 hours here, we've been watching, interestingly, we can actually pick out, it looks like maybe that's a bit of a signature for birds on the radar there out of Boston, but certainly nothing to track when it comes to rainfall. The clouds that we had been watching have since lifted and are moving away from us. So southeastern Connecticut perhaps still dealing with a little bit of cloudiness. It's all courtesy of the stationary boundary that's offshore right now. We have high pressure near the Great Lakes, which is helping to keep us nice and dry. There's an area of low pressure that's forming along that stalled out front, and that is going to bring our chance for showers in the middle of the week. So we'll take you to tomorrow morning on First Alert Futurecast. Plenty of sunshine out there, right? Clear skies to begin the day, nice and bright. As we get into the afternoon, we'll start to see some clouds lift in. Now, it looks like these are going to be pretty high up in the atmosphere. The reason that's worth perhaps bringing up now is because that could lead to a great sunset tomorrow. So consider this your first alert that we are looking ahead to the sunset chances tomorrow, and it looks like it could be a great one. As we fast forward to Wednesday morning, the clouds have thickened up across the state. Some isolated showers out there, and the disturbance itself will pass by offshore. This is not a tropical. There's nothing tropical about this disturbance. It's just an area of low pressure moving along that front, keeping things a little bit wetter to our east. At the same time, we're monitoring a cold front, which will be dropping out of Canada and approaching New England from the northwest. So a couple of features to keep our eyes on here, but the takeaway is that even out ahead of that front, even with that disturbance passing nearby, we're still pleasant, not much in the way of mugginess, meaning there's not much in the way of moisture in the atmosphere. So we're talking about isolated sprinkles on Wednesday at worst. It certainly does not appear to be all that impactful. Where we might see a bit of a positive impact is that it will help to cut back on pollen counts. Moderate pollen counts tomorrow, ragweed and grasses, dropping a bit more on Wednesday and Thursday. And again, if you suffer from fall allergies, you likely have already experienced this earlier this season. It was certainly a bit long of a dry stretch that we had. It was nice to clean the pollen out of the air with the rain on Saturday and Sunday. We'll take you live right now to our iCam view in Torrington. Really not much going on in northwestern Connecticut, not much going on in central Connecticut. And we'll take you to New London right now. This is really the only part of the state where we might see a little bit of cloud cover lingering. 51 degrees right now in southeastern Connecticut. Winds are to the north-northeast at 3 miles per hour. It was a chilly start to the day. Temps in the low 40s in parts of northwestern Connecticut, otherwise about 45 to 50 degrees. Normal low for today, 57. So unseasonably cool out there yet again. And we have more cool air on the way tonight. In fact, we were only 6 degrees above the record low temperature of 39. 73 was the high today, 6 degrees below the normal high of 79. Not even close to that record of 96. So we are not looking at anything quite that intense for heat anytime soon. Temperatures today were about 70 to 75 degrees with some upper 60s in the southeastern part of the state. And they are falling, and they will do so fairly quickly here. Look at that 48 popping up at 5 a.m., so falling through the rest of the 50s and into the 40s as the night goes on. And that's where we bottom out. Temperatures forecast to be, and we'll say the mid and upper 40s across most of inland Connecticut, but some parts of northwestern Connecticut could certainly see more low 40s pop up. Shoreline towns will be closer to 50 degrees. The inland sections of our southern 4 counties will be in the 40s tonight. So cool for this time of year by about 10 degrees or so. Another unseasonably cool night for most of the state. We do rebound tomorrow back to seasonably cool levels. Another day with highs 70 to 75. Bright start, and then we see those high clouds building on in. Sunrise 6:25 in the morning. The sun will set at 10 after 7. And First Alert Futurecast here shows the bright start to the day. Now, by 1 o'clock, we're still bright. Watch what happens from 3, 4, 5 o'clock till about 7 in the evening. We see those high clouds start across southeastern Connecticut, moving northwest, and this is going to bring perhaps a great sunset. So we'll be watching very closely. But we're dry tomorrow. It's not until around dawn on Wednesday when you might need maybe just a light rain jacket or something like that. Isolated showers. We're not expecting too much of an impact here. Thankfully, you can join Scott Haney on Wednesday morning on Channel 3 as he tracks those showers live for you. We keep the wind out of the northeast throughout the day Wednesday. We'll also keep a lot of the cloud cover around. It's not until Wednesday night where the cloudiness will start to break up a bit. And that is going to give us perhaps another cool-ish morning on Thursday. We're expecting temperatures on Thursday morning to be back near 50 degrees. But what's interesting is what happens thereafter. We rebound Thursday afternoon to near 80. And we'll be in the low 50s Thursday into Friday. What happens on Thursday is this cold front crosses, but we don't really have a bunch of moisture to support it, meaning that when it crosses, outside of maybe a slight increase in cloud cover, you'll never know except for the shift in wind direction and the cooler temps that follow behind it. 73 Friday. Look at that. 47 Saturday morning. 75 Saturday, 77 on Sunday, which is pretty seasonable for this time of year. Mid-70s on Monday. Maybe a slight increase in cloud cover early next week. Some slight differences between the models, so we're watching that pretty closely. 73 at the shoreline tomorrow, 72 on Wednesday, up to 82 Thursday with that offshore wind developing, and then we'll be in the mid-70s, which again is closer to normal for this time of year. Looking beyond the First Alert 7-day forecast, this would bring us from the 14th through the 18th of the month. Signs that temperatures could still be running a bit below normal. What we don't know from this map is how much below normal, but the pattern still favors things to be a bit cool, and we're between an area that's leaning a little bit wetter. That would be from, say, New York City and point south, and things that are leaning a little bit drier. That would be across northern New England. So we basically have equal chances of actually getting maybe some rain here. It seems like we could end up with, at least as we see it right now, certainly dry over the next 7 days. We'll have to see what happens once we get into the middle of next week, but there aren't any big signals for rain is the big takeaway here, and we certainly could still use some of that. We started the month off a bit cool compared to normal, and then we ended up back above normal Thursday, Friday, Saturday, especially Saturday, 86, that's warm, when typically our high temperature would be around 79. But it was very different, of course, on Sunday. High temperature 67 yesterday, 73 today for the Hartford area. We picked up a decent amount of rain between Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Welcome rain, too. Certainly great for lawns, great for perhaps trying to save some of the foliage out there. And we'll see those trees really start to change here quite a bit in the next few weeks. Our final 7 p.m. sunset of the year is in 1 week from today. We lost a lot of daylight so far since the summer solstice, and we have a lot more to lose. In October alone, we're going to lose another 81 minutes of daylight. We lose 59 in November, 14 in December. The winter solstice is on December 21st, and the darker 3-month period of the year, November, December into January. Once we get later into February, those sunsets really start to get a bit later, back into the 5 o'clock hour especially. Then, of course, we set the clocks in early March, and we go from sunsets at almost 6 p.m. to almost 7 p.m. So we're not going to rush anything, of course. That's 6 months from where we are right now, but always fun to look ahead and see what's in store. Don't forget, we will do another First Alert Weather Extra streaming live on WFSB Plus tomorrow morning at 8 a.m., but we'll have you covered on the Wax at 10, Channel 3 tonight at 11, and then again 4:30 to 7 on Channel 3 tomorrow morning. Hope you'll join us over on the Wax in 20. Hope you had a great start to the work and school week. We'll see you back here again tomorrow night, same time, same place.